Hi everyone, it's Tim here again with a very quick reaction video to yesterday's very interesting news from myenergi about the release of their new Libby battery. So yeah, I've done a bit of digging and I want to show you what I've discovered. So I learned about this new Libby battery from myenergi by spotting this video on the Fully Charged Show YouTube channel. And they interviewed the manufacturers and they talked about their plans for this battery and how they're introducing it soon. But they didn't go into any of the sort of really nitty-gritty details that I'm particularly interested in. So I immediately started looking on the internet for any information that I could find, because this battery appears on the surface like it could be exactly what I'm after. So one reason I'm particularly interested in this new battery from myenergi is that I've recently been trying to decide between different battery solutions to couple with my east-west split solar array. And in this video that I published a few weeks ago, I described some of those options, and one of the leading contenders was the GivEnergy 9.5 kilowatt hour battery coupled with a 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter. Now, in this video, I explained why I was thinking of getting two of these 9.5 kilowatt hour batteries, but since then I've decided I'm probably only going to go with one of them. However, this new battery from myenergi has various different options ranging from roughly 5 kilowatt hours up to 20 kilowatt hours in blocks of 5. So this actually gives me the option to go for either 10 kilowatt hours or 15 kilowatt hours, for example, all the way up to 20 kilowatt hours. So I wanted to look more into this to see if those options were viable for me, because there weren't a lot of details in the fully charged video, so I wanted to dig a little bit more and see what else I could find. So what I've done is I've hunted around on the internet, and I've discovered that well, the first place to look was obviously the myenergi website, and this is all very flash and interesting, and they've got a lot of lovely pictures and marketing materials and all that stuff. But it didn't really tell me much. But hunting around a little bit on the internet, I discovered that actually this battery, and now if I show a picture of it here, is basically a reskin of a similar battery from K-Star, which is a Chinese company. Now you can see basically it looks almost identical, and that's because what I think has happened is that myenergi have partnered with K-Star in order to avoid having to basically develop a battery from scratch. Now this battery from K-Star, which is a Chinese company, seems to have been out for about 2 years now, and it looks like what actually happened back then was that K-Star, who manufacture inverters, teamed up with this company called KATL, who manufacture batteries, and they produced this system together, which they've been selling for a couple of years. Now, I've not seen this around in the UK very much. I don't really see them penetrating the UK market particularly, so perhaps this is a way of them combining with myenergi in order to sell their battery into the UK, and that's all fine and well. I think that's not a bad solution, in particular because one of the main benefits from the point of view of myenergi is that it can combine with their existing products such as the Eddy and the Zappi in a much more cohesive way, which I found very exciting, because that's exactly the sort of thing that I want to do. I'm aiming to get an Eddy and a Zappi, so having a battery native to that sort of ecosystem maybe offers some advantages over the system I was originally planning to get, which combined those two products from myenergi with the GivEnergy battery. Which doesn't necessarily work in a seamless way, because the battery can't be seen by the myenergi app, for example, because the battery is hidden behind the hybrid inverter, unless you went for something like an AC coupled system, which has other pros and cons, which I go into in that other video if you're interested in watching that. So anyway, I dug around and I found all of the various data sheets for the various different products. So, for example, the original K-Star battery, I found the data sheet for that, and this is what it looks like. I'm not going to show this in all its details, because actually it turns out that there is also a data sheet for the new myenergi version of this battery, the Libby, and it looks essentially the same. So just to confirm, I found the data sheet from myenergi for the Libby battery, and indeed most of the numbers look essentially identical to that K-Star battery. So obviously the main advantage that getting it through myenergi instead of K-Star is this new sort of controller that that myenergi is coupling with their battery to help it integrate with the other products like the eddy and the zappi, obviously. So what I did was I went through this this data sheet with a fine-tooth comb to see exactly how it compares to the GivEnergy version that I was considering before. So that's the combination of the 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter with the 9.5 kilowatt hour battery. So there are a couple of aspects of this battery that I'm particularly interested in, and I wanted to check to see how they compared to the GivEnergy battery, and one of those is the battery chemistry. So in my previous video I explained how I preferred the lithium iron phosphate chemistry over the nickel manganese cobalt chemistry that you get in things like the Powerwall, because it's it's a little bit safer and it's recyclable at the end of life. So I was keen to see what chemistry that the libbi used, and indeed it is lithium iron phosphate in exactly the same way as the GivEnergy battery. So this is the battery data sheet for the GivEnergy battery, and this also shows that it's the lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry, which is good. But otherwise, just going through the data sheet, I'm not going to go through every single detail here, but they look extremely similar on the surface. You get a 3.68 kilowatt version of the inverter and a 5 kilowatt version of the inverter in exactly the same way that you do with the GivEnergy hybrid inverter. There's a 3.6 kilowatt and a 5 kilowatt version. The power ratings are pretty similar in both cases. So the maximum inputs for the GivEnergy inverter is 4.7 kilowatts and 6.5 kilowatts respectively, and for the libbi it's very similar, 4.8 kilowatts and 6.5 kilowatts again. The voltages are pretty similar, 580 DC volts for the libbi, and I think it's about the same 600 volts for the GivEnergy. The startup voltage is slightly higher on the GivEnergy, 150 volts, versus I think it's 130 volts for the libbi. The number of MPP trackers is the same in both, 2 MPP trackers in each inverter for both GivEnergy and the libbi, and 1 string per MPPT tracker. So that's useful for us because we've got an east-west split in our solar array, so that would allow us to put each string into a separate MPP tracker, which would allow us to make sure that those 2 sides of the array can operate independently, which is good. The currents are very slightly higher for the maximum currents are slightly higher for the libbi compared to the GivEnergy, so about 15 amps for the maximum input current for the libbi, and I think it's about where did I find? Oh no, that's the wrong one. It's about 11 amps for the GivEnergy hybrid inverters. So all very similar. But the other thing, the main important thing for me was the maximum charge and discharge rate. So in my previous video, I said that the maximum charge and discharge rate for the GivEnergy system was about 4.7 kilowatts. Now, I was incorrect when I said that because I've since discovered a part of the this data sheet for the inverter, which I didn't spot before, or if I did spot it, I'd forgotten about it. And it shows quite clearly here that the maximum discharge and charge power for the hybrid inverters is actually 3.6 kilowatts, not 4.7, as I said in my video. So apologies for that mistake. I was corrected very quickly by some very friendly comments, which I appreciate very much. But yeah, this was really interesting. So this 3.6 kilowatt charge and discharge power for the GivEnergy battery system and inverter actually means that I couldn't necessarily charge up much more than 10 kilowatts over the 4-hour Octopus Go cheap rate, which I was planning to do in the winter to help me cover my heating costs, as I explained in that other video. Which is one of the reasons why I decided to only go for a for one 9.5 kilowatt hour battery instead of 2. However, interestingly, the maximum charge and discharge rate for the 5 kilowatt version of the libbi is actually 4.6 kilowatts for the charge and 5 kilowatts for the discharge, which is significantly higher than the 3.6 kilowatts charge and discharge rate for the GivEnergy system. Now, the 3.68 kilowatt version has a very slightly lower charge rate than the GivEnergy version, but a very slightly higher discharge rate at 4 kilowatts instead of the 3.6 kilowatts from the GivEnergy system. So depending on which version of the Libby you're interested in, that may or may not make a difference to you. But yeah, I found that very interesting. And actually, this is a very, very useful number for me to know, because it means that this battery immediately becomes more useful to me than the GivEnergy version, because it means that I can run more things from the battery when there's no solar, for example. Let's say it's in the middle of winter and I'm making my toast and boiling the kettle first thing in the morning when I'm having my breakfast. I could do that pretty much using the Libby. But if I was to use the GivEnergy system, that would max out at 3.6 kilowatts, which is only basically just about the kettle and the base load of our house. So as soon as I put the toaster on, that will start to draw from the grid, whereas I wouldn't get that with the Libby, which is very interesting to me. So yeah, that appears to be the main benefit of the Libby over the GivEnergy. Otherwise, all of the rest of this stuff is very, very similar. So if this battery looks like it's got a better option for me than the GivEnergy system, what am I missing? Where is the catch? What is it that will make this battery less attractive than the GivEnergy battery? And I thought, well, okay, there's got to be something to this. It's got to be the price, right? This is going to be way more expensive than the GivEnergy system. So I had a little dig around, and it's not super easy to find prices for the Libby, obviously, but because it's effectively a reskin of the K-Star, I had a quick look around to see if I could find any prices for the K-Star system, and lo and behold, I was able to find effectively the 10 kilowatt hour version of the K-Star system on this website. I don't believe it's a UK website. I think it actually is. It's probably Dutch. Actually, it looks like. But this is selling the 10 kilowatt hour version. I see they've missed the hour off of the capacity here. That should be 10 kilowatt hours, but there you go. So they're selling this for about £5,500. So that comes with the 5 kilowatt inverter and 2 of the 5 kilowatt hour modules to give you a total of 10 kilowatt hours. Although it's a little bit less than that. It's actually closer to 9, because if I go back to the data sheet, let me see if I can find it. Yep, here we go. The usable capacity for each 5.1 kilowatt hour module is actually 4.6 kilowatt hours. So 2 of these modules would actually give you about 9.2 kilowatt hours rather than 10.2. So that's fine. Okay, it's just a little bit less than the GivEnergy system, but let's say they're roughly comparable. So £5,500 for this system. Now. I obviously couldn't find it on the same website, but on the Midsummer Wholesale website, I found the GivEnergy 9.5 kilowatt hour battery for about 3,200, and the 5 kilowatt hybrid inverter for about 1,300. So that combined gives you about, what's that? About £4,500. So I'm expecting that. So that's about £1,000 cheaper for the combined GivEnergy hybrid inverter and battery, so that's £1,000 cheaper, but I expect this price is going to be a little bit of a lower limit, because when myenergi release their version, the Libby, they're going to obviously include their controller box with that, and I suspect that will push up the price a little bit, and there may be a little bit more of a markup. So I'm expecting it to be closer to maybe £1,500 or £2,000 more expensive. So that is probably the main downside, is I'm expecting the Libby to be a little bit pricier than the GivEnergy system, but as a long-term solution, it will enable me to draw less from the grid, because I will be pulling in less when I'm making my toast and tea in the morning because of this 5 kilowatt limit, and I'll be able to charge it up a little bit quicker overnight because the charge rate is slightly higher. So I'm wondering if that's actually going to be a good option. So yeah, let me know if you've spotted anything that I've missed, if there's any other downsides from in respect of the Libby compared to the GivEnergy system, then let me know. What have I missed? I might have missed something important. But otherwise, I'm thinking this is looking pretty nice, and I'm going to give my installer a ring to see if it's something they're likely to be able to install for me. Obviously, it's still a very new product, and myenergi say that they might not necessarily have everybody trained up straight away. So it's going to take them 2 or 3 months before they've got coverage across the whole of the UK. And whether or not my installer is going to be able to install this or not is another question. So I'm going to ask them that question and see if they're prepared to change my order from the GivEnergy system to the Libby, and we'll see what happens. It might mean that I have to wait until the spring to get my system installed. That might not be such a bad thing, since I wouldn't be generating that much solar over the winter anyway. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Keep watching for more updates on that story as and when I publish more videos on that subject. We should be having some more videos explaining our new air conditioning system that we got installed recently that we're currently using for our heating. So we're no longer using gas for our heating, which is very exciting. It seems to be going pretty well, but I want to give that a little bit more of a run-in before I explain my full opinion on that system. But I'll be showing you how that was installed and how we're living with that in a future video. But for now, that's all I've got to say. I'm hoping that this battery is as good as it looks. But yeah, let me know if you've spotted anything that I've missed, and I'll catch you in the next video. So thank you very much for watching.